about memory today, and short-term memory specifically. I have tended throughout my lifetime to have a propensity to having a terrible short-term memory, but really good long-term memory. I can recall facts, events, places, names, dates from 20 years ago, but I have great difficulty in remembering what someone told me 10 minutes ago. And I thought that was just a me thing before I was diagnosed, but I've since found out that it's quite common in people with autism and Aspergers to have not very good short-term memory, and I don't know why that is, but from a personal point of view, it's almost like the information goes in and then it kind of like stays in the holding area for a little while, along with all the other information that's gone in the last few hours, and it kind of just sits there waiting for someone to collate it and store it and file it away in the correct place. And then at some point in the future I can access the storage facility in my head and I can pull that information out. I really have trouble in taking in lots of information in a short period of time and holding on to it and remembering it verbatim. That's why I much prefer if I'm being given instructions or an address or a telephone number that someone writes it down for me, because I will not remember it. I'm terrible at remembering arrangements, meetings. Something else I've done all my life, which makes perfect sense now I've got my diagnosis, is I make lists for absolutely everything. I make lists at home, things I need to do and things I want to do. I've got lists on my phone. I have lists at work, post-it notes. I've designed my own kind of spreadsheet at work that I print out and fill in with things I need to remember. And I've always found that strange and funny that I do that. It's kind of, to me, I would write it down. Once it's written down and put in a place where I can see it, I can then forget about it. Because if I've got lots of little pieces of information knocking around in my head, I won't remember them. I will not remember them. So I've always made lists. I've always put them down. And once I put them on the list, I can forget about it. I can erase it from my memory or from my holding area, and I can get rid of it because I've written it down. And then I'll go back and I'll read my list and I'll cross it off the list and I'll get on with the next thing. And I've been ridiculed over it in the past, making lists. I do it for everything. You know, I go on holiday, I make a list. Lists are comforting to me. Lists are, I can do all the thinking and concentrating. I can get it down on a list and then I can forget about it. I can let go of it. It's like a release. I'm not having to hold that information in my head until I don't need to hold it any longer. Like, you know, I must remember next Tuesday night I've got to be here at this time. I can't remember that stuff. Terrible. I'm absolutely terrible for it. And yeah, I thought it was a me thing, but it is an autistic Asperger thing, apparently, having poor short-term memory. Long-term memory, yeah, that's really good. You know, I can tell you what happened in the first ever episode of EastEnders. I can't tell you what I had for dinner last Friday, or I can't tell you what someone told me this morning. And another part of that is, I think, and I've had a little think about this, is if the information is kind of what I would call neurotypical information, you know, the things like I'm terrible on remembering meetings or dates or places that I have to be, or when someone's coming around to see me, or I've got to do something, because kind of it never registers with me that that's important, really important to me. More important to me is remembering something about my special interest, and I kind of like, I haven't got enough room to remember all this stuff. So if it was something to do with my special interest, I would probably remember it. You know, that sounds really self-absorbed and selfish and rude and arrogant, but yeah, I can't remember the things that are important to me. But being someone with Aspergers and having not much empathy or no empathy, I don't know, some of the things that people talk about just go in one ear and out the other. None of it stays there, because it's all fluff to me, what most people talk about, with absolutely no interest to me. And I know as they're saying it, I do not want to remember this stuff, so I kind of almost put it on some kind of straight in one ear out the other program, rather than letting it sit up here and sort of remembering these banal conversations that I've had about nothing. I can remember the ones that have been giving me information and interesting facts. You know, I can't remember the conversation I've had with someone about what the weather's been like lately, or what was on TV last night, or yeah, none of that. So that's just one thing I thought I'll do a little video about. You know, having bad short-term memory. So if you bombard someone with Asperger's with lots of information in one go, don't expect them to remember it. Try and help them. Try and write it down, put it in a text, put it in an email. You know, if it's that important, do that, because then that person can refer back to it. But overloading them with lots of information at once is never a good thing anyway, because, you know, we're not very good at multitasking. We're very good at doing one thing very well to a high level, but doing multiple things at once, not very good. It's the same with taking in information in large chunks. I always take notes at work when someone's telling me something that I know that I'm going to have to refer back to at a later date. Sometimes at home, you know, I'll say, let me put that in my phone now, because I will not remember. You know I won't remember, so let me make a note of it. Let me put a memo or an alarm in my phone. So yeah, I thought that might be of some interest to be aware that when you're around people with Asperger's autism, that the short-term memory isn't gonna be great. Alright, well, thanks for watching again, and see you soon.